What's up YouTube, it's BeetlePlayer1011 here, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this video. I couldn't make it funny, and it's not a topic that we can take lightly. And there are two instances that I want to talk about. One that is much more well known than the other, but both of them with the common trait, and that is gun ownership in America. I know a lot of you have expected me to say the common strain is institutional racism. That is also a common trait. It's a common trait in a lot of other cases as well. John Crawford III, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, the list goes on and on. And two more names were added onto this insanely long list, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating. And I understand the outrage that many people are currently feeling at this moment in response to both of these situations. But let's talk about what happened first, and then I'll get into the actual arguments about this on the right and actually arguably on the left. The first is Alton Sterling. Alton Sterling was outside in Baton Rouge, North Baton Rouge, selling CDs, which he did on the side to make a little bit of extra money for his family. That's when a homeless person noticed that he was carrying a firearm and called the police. The police then came, and the video that was taken by cell phone showed that he was pinned against a car, thrown to the ground, pinned against the ground with a gun to his chest. While he was saying that his firearm was legal and that he had a permit, he was shot. Now, whether or not that was true or what he said was true, we need to look at what the police officers did. They did not check to see if he had a gun. I recognize that he had a history, but what does it say that the police officers had no idea what this man's history was? What does it say that the police officers were in an open carry state where it would have been perfectly legal for him to have owned a gun, but they didn't give him the opportunity to defend himself? He was guilty, and he never had the chance to prove himself innocent. Let's talk about the second case before I go deeper into both of these cases. The next one is Philando Castro. This one also has a cell phone video, and this is important to know because officers were wearing body cams, or were obliged to be wearing body cams, but apparently they fell off. What is the point of having the body cam if you're never going to have it in the instances that we need to look at it? So the cell phone videos came in, and but by the way, keep in mind, there are many other instances where this happens, and there are no cell phone videos, so you know what happens? No one talks about it. Philando Castro was in his car, and he had a broken tail light, where his girlfriend was with him in the car. They were pulled over by a cop. What happened was, the cop came up to him and asked to see his license. Philando Castro said he was legally carrying a firearm, and he wanted the officer to know that. The officer got scared and shot him 4 times, all caught on video. This case is even clearer than the one of Alton Sterling. He had no criminal history that we know of as of yet. He was in a car, and he did what every single conservative opinion on these cases about black deaths due to police officers have said. You need to comply with the officer, let the officer know you. In fact, Sean Hannity said, this is exactly what you do. I pull up my shirt, I tell the officer I'm legally carrying a firearm, I have my permit, but you know what the difference was? Sean Hannity didn't get shot 4 times because the officer was scared of him. So let's go back to the beginning at the top where I said the common trait is gun rights. I'm going to read you a cut quote, and this one is coming from a man named Charles Cook, and this is in an article titled, Do Black People Have Equal Gun Rights? And this gives a good summation of the history of the NRA and gun rights in America. He says, John Crawford III was shot by police in a Walmart after a white customer claimed that the man was pointing a gun. Mr. Crawford had been holding a BB gun. Ohio is an open carry state, but that did not make much difference. Until around the 1970s, the aims of America's firearms restrictionists and racists were inextricable. In colonial periods, the first laws regulating gun ownership were aimed at blacks. Southern states enacted black hoods to prohibit ownership of guns by blacks. At the height of the civil rights movement, black freedom fighters had an arsenal. The first major gun ban on carrying firearms was drafted after the Black Panthers had been hanging around the state legislature. The NRA opposed neither law. In fact, it's true that the NRA was opposed to gun control because racism. This is so clear. Afterwards, when the NRA started supporting gun control, who did they not support? Think about it. Where is the NRA in this situation where a man was legally carrying a firearm in Philando, Castile, but his gun rights that they say are protected by the Second Amendment were violated? He was killed on the spot for carrying a gun. Where is the NRA on this issue? Now, second is whenever this issue comes up, everyone on the right will say, well, we need to look at his history and look, he was stealing cigarettes, therefore he deserved to be shot. He was selling CDs, kind of illegally. He deserves to be shot, even though literally go on any corner on any city, there are people selling CDs everywhere. We need to look at everyone's history. Why was that not true for any... Trying to hold in my frustration. Brock Turner, the Stanford kid, the Stanford case, it took a year for a mugshot to be released. And he raped someone and was given 6 months. Why is it that whenever a white person does a crime like rape, we look at what was good about him? And I say him because we should recognize sexism. We look at, he was a Stanford kid on the swim team. A black person is victimized by the police and we look at only the bad aspects. Why isn't the narrative then the fact that for the past 6 months, the landlord said he was always on time with his rent, he always spent time with his kids, he worked as a cook to support his family while selling CDs on the side to continue to pay rent on time, and he was giving no problems to anyone in the area. Philando Castile was planning on raising a family with his girlfriend. And when Bill O'Reilly comes out, like, it's a family problem, they need to raise their families and everything, a police officer took the father away from children. How do you not think that this is part of the problem why families are destroyed over and over again? Where's the reciprocity in gun rights? And now this will lead me to my second point and what we have to do about this. There needs to be more accountability in the system. And the accountability that we have is not working because the police officers are a part of the institution that investigates. This is like the FBI investigating themselves for things that the FBI did. It makes no sense. It makes no sense because the police officers are part of the system where you're having drinks with the prosecutor afterwards. Of course they're not going to prosecute you. Of course the juries are going to be biased. An all-white jury in the Michael Brown case in a predominantly black town? And here's another quick statistic before anyone is like, the majority of people killed by police are white. 1, 80% of the country is white. 2, the ratio of unarmed black Americans compared to unarmed white Americans shot, 7-1. In Baton Rouge, and we never hear about this, in the past 3 years, in a 75% white city, every person shot by a police officer was black. Every single person. But no, a lot of people refuse to recognize that this is institutional racism. And then the last point. There are people to my left, arguably, and I'm not sure if this is the left or the right position, that say that black people need gun rights to protect themselves from officers, that if an officer is threatening to shoot you, you have the right to protect yourself. In the same way, when people on the right say, we need our gun rights because this protects us from people who mean to harm us, here's my response to you. Both of these people had guns in an open carry state where it was legal for them to carry, and both of them were shot and killed. At a certain point, it becomes willful ignorance when people refuse to recognize the institutional racism behind this. I hope I've done my part in convincing anyone who's watched this to recognize the true extent to the institutional racism in our society, and this is why I am in personal support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and I hope that this serious discussion cannot bore you in any way. It's an important issue, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your thoughts and comments in the section below. And my thoughts and prayers go out to the families of both Alton Sterling and Philando Castile. Thank you for watching.